Serious matters. A 49-year-old man has appeared in court in connection with the fire that engulfed Parliament. The suspect was arrested and charged with housebreaking, theft, arson and possessing an explosive device. The case has now been postponed. ENCA's Aisha Ismail was in court this morning and joins us now for an update. And so, Aisha, we got a glimpse of who the man is. We now know the man's name, but also we are still in the dark, really, in as far as the details. We've got details from the state, but those details are being disputed by his lawyers.
So as you say, Tulas, we know who the man is. We know his name. It's Zandile Mafe. What's interesting is that those close to the investigation initially told us that the man arrested was a homeless man and that he was arrested on the parliamentary precinct. Now, having spoken to his lawyer, Luvuyo Godla, Luvuyo was able to give us an address. In fact, according to the charge sheet, Mr. Mafe is a resident of Khayelitsha in Site B. So there are, some discrepancies here and there, but let's not, worry about those facts. So what has happened now is that the matter has been postponed for a week, and this is to allow the investigators to conduct a proper investigation. Remember, it is not yet safe for the investigators to go onto the parliamentary precinct, and they can only enter the precinct once it has been declared safe. It will also then give the investigators a time or a week to go and verify the address of Mr. Mafe, of Zandile Mafe, and to verify whether he does indeed live in Site B in Khayelitsha. They also now need to go and look at whether he owns any assets, and this information is all relevant for the bail application that is due to take place on the 11th of January. But let's listen to what Eric Ntabazalila from the National Prosecuting Authority had to say to us after the case was postponed earlier today.
We can confirm as the state that Zandile Christmas Mafe, 49 years old, from Khayelitsha, appeared at the Cape Town Magistrates Court this morning in connection with the fire that took place in Parliament over the weekend. He's facing 5 charges currently. Those charges include housebreaking with intent to steal and theft, 2 counts of arson, possession of an explosive device, and destruction of essential infrastructure. The case has been postponed to the 11th of January for the state, the investigators, to confirm certain information, especially bail information, which includes the residential address of the accused, whether he's got assets, and so on and so forth. Also, the other issue is that the investigators have not been able to go to Parliament, to go to the crime scene, to assess how much the damage is at the crime scene, because the crime scene was still active until, I think, late yesterday. So when we come back by next Tuesday, I'm sure we'll have that information. And I'm sure you've heard that the defense is intending to apply for bail. The state will oppose bail. And more charges are likely to be added as the investigation continues.
So always important, Aisha, to clarify to the extent that there's any confusion about the charges. Eric Ntabazalila there, in particular the whole issue around whether or not he's charged with theft as a charge. Eric Ntabazalila says he's charged with housebreaking with the intention to steal or to commit theft, 2 counts of arson, 1 count that has to do with possession of an explosive device, and the last charge has to do with destruction of essential infrastructure. Just for clarity, to the extent that perhaps in our reporting we may have issues muddled up a little bit there, and that settles that. Of all of these charges that we are mentioning, Aisha, The one that seems to have caused a bit of drama and controversy is around the possession of an explosive device. And that's partly because the versions of the state and the defense are at variance, complete variance. The state says he possessed an explosive device. We can't tell you what exactly this device is. The defense says absolutely not. There's no question of him being in possession of such.
In fact, the defense is saying that he wasn't in possession of anything. But when one looks at the charge sheet refers to crockery, it refers to a laptop, it also refers to documents. But also remember, according to the state, they believe that they have the man who set fire to Parliament and caused all that destruction. On the other hand, Luvuyo Godla, who's representing Mr. Mafe, is saying, you're using my client as a scapegoat. He is not the person that set fire to Parliament. But he did not, when we asked him, I specifically asked him, where was your client arrested? What time was he arrested? And was he in possession of anything when he was arrested? And he was saying he did not want to say where exactly his client was arrested. But let's listen to what he had to say to us here on the steps at the Cape Town Magistrates Court soon after the case was postponed to the 11th of January.
Here we accept the decision of the court granting the state further remand for purposes of obtaining bail information. But our submission is this. Surely this poor man is made a scapegoat for failures of executive and legislature. There is no point to come and say we are not ready, when in fact they allege that the most important point of the country has been destroyed. Yet they didn't do anything. Sunday the whole day, Monday the whole day, and you also count the nights, and you must remember that the state has got all the resources. And also considering that this chap is accused of destroying Parliament. The Parliament, the distant factor, Parliament to where he resides, it hardly takes 25 minutes. More especially, there is no traffic now. It's during public holidays. So at least the state could have ascertained that information immediately on Sunday. But still they didn't do that. And now they come before court and say, we ask a remand, is arson, and it's a national key point. National key point, there is nothing such as that one. It's arson. And according to our law, arson is arson, and it's Schedule 1 offense, and one charged with Schedule 1 offense is supposed to be released immediately, or the state is supposed to prove compelling reasons why the court should not release a person.
So Luvuyo Godla there, as we conclude, Aisha, the lawyer for Zandile Christmas Mafe, alludes to the whole debate around how the charges against him are going to be categorized. Signpost for us then the journey forward to the 11th of January. That's where we will get a bit more clarity, I presume, around the seriousness of the charges and who should bear the responsibility of convincing the court one way or another in as far as the question of bail is concerned.
And also, and as we said earlier, it's a question also now of arguing onus. Is the onus on the state to prove whether Zandile Mafe should be released on bail, or will the onus then be shifted to Zandile Mafe to make out a case as to why he should be released on bail? And that is why Luvuyo Godla was talking about arson being a Scheduled 1 case, whereas the state is saying it should be a Scheduled 5 case. But Tulas, what's also interesting here, this is not the first time that I've covered a case of a breach of security. I remember in the year 2000, and I'm not sure if you remember, there was a breach of security at the presidential village in Rondebosch when Thabo Mbeki was still the president, and there was a homeless person who managed to gain access to the presidential home. He stayed in Thabo Mbeki's house for an entire weekend. He wined and dined like a president, and he went undetected. It was only when the Monday morning, when the cook arrived at the premises, because Thabo Mbeki was away at an international conference, it was only on a Monday when the cook arrived at the residence when he found this homeless person inside the house. And this person was then sent to Falkenberg Psychiatric Hospital for mental observation, psychiatric observation, and when he appeared in court, he was declared mentally unfit to stand trial. So we also don't know. I mean, I know that happened in 2000. We're now in 2022, but again, a breach of security. Also in 2006, I covered a story also at the presidential village where 2 cabinet ministers' homes were broken into and items were actually stolen. Nobody was arrested for those break-in and theft. So it comes as no surprise even, or maybe we should be surprised that somebody was able to scale the fence or even come onto, we don't know whether he scaled the fence, we don't know how this person gained access onto the precinct, the parliamentary precinct. What we do know is that there was a person on the premises, there was a person who set light to old assembly chamber, which the fire then spread to the new assembly and caused extensive damage, almost irreparable damage. This man was on the premises since the early hours of the morning and he went undetected. And again, the question has to be asked. Where were the securities, the ones doing the perimeter security, surveillance? What happened to the people who were supposed to be monitoring the CCTV cameras? Why did the sprinklers only kick in at a later stage? And also, why was the fire alarm delayed? So all these questions need to be asked outside of the court case that's going to be playing out here in the Cape Town Magistrates Court.
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely, Aisha. This in a country where we've had thefts and robberies, including at the headquarters of the State Security Agency. We've had instances where firearms and ammunition were stolen from facilities of the South African National Defence Forces, as well as the harbour during the riot and unrest in July 2021. And in many of those instances, years later, we remain without any answers as to how on earth is this even possible. ENCA's Aisha Ismail out at the Cape Town Magistrates Court.